rate among our 14-year-olds is now 30%, one of the worst rates in the world. Small wonder anybody who claimed to have a cure would be seen as a saviour. And could that saviour be a man from Moscow? Professor Konstantin Butako's treatment is highly controversial. His Russian colleagues tried to shut him down, but he does have disciples here. And with his arrival in this country comes new scientific evidence that maybe this 78-year-old professor is on the right track. Napier Airport, and a highly unusual yet emotional scene is about to be played out. Russell Stark and his wife Jenny are here to meet a visitor from Moscow, a man they're convinced saved not only Russell's life, but the life of his son Robert.
At 18 months old, he was diagnosed with asthma. As soon as he started coughing, it meant you'd sit up all night, wait until his breathing settled down.
Steam seemed to help, so we'd put cushions in the bath. He'd sleep in the bath, and one of us would sit up for half the night, keeping all the steam going, like boiling kettles and so on in the bathroom. And then the other one would take over.
All this sounds like the actions of a couple who thought they might lose their child.
It was scary because, you know, like it's really frightening when your own child can't breathe.
Yet the Starks say both father and son are now clear of asthma, and they credit an idea that started behind the Iron Curtain. If he looks more like a character from a James Bond movie than a scientist, there's a reason. It's only the second time Professor Konstantin Butako has seen the West.
Russell Stark.
It was like, this man, you know, saved my son's life. Like, we wouldn't be looking at my son today.
That's a pretty powerful reason to be grateful.
Well, we are. We were...
That's why we got him here.
And hopefully he can have some influence.
Have you thanked him?
We did last night.
We did last night.
The professor and his wife, Ludmilla, don't speak English.
Oh, Mayori.
But half a world away from his Ukrainian birthplace, it was plain New Zealanders were every bit as exotic to him as he was to them. Could he meet a Maori? What's our climate like?
The weather is like in Crimea in Ukraine. Yeah.
And which way to the fabled South Pacific? Not exactly blue skies and blue water, but Konstantin Butako has weathered, he claims, no fewer than 9 assassination attempts from professional rivals who tried to suppress his life's work he'd like to see spread here.
It's a very good environment, and he would like to see it very healthy. So my desire is no any diseases in this beautiful country at all. I would be pleased if I can assist to that.
Can you tell me, does your friend have asthma? Someone help me, please.
As the BBC series Superhuman explains, asthma attacks occur when the body overreacts.
It treats harmless things like pollen as though they were dangerous infections. The airways become inflamed and swollen. This narrowing makes it harder to breathe.
Asthma can kill. 134 New Zealanders died in 1996. 1 in every 6 of us has it. We're one of the worst afflicted in the world, among them the Starks, and they know the lengths asthma can drive you to.
We just pulled the carpets out, and then we did further testing, and then we were supposed to be allergic to the chipboard and
the formaldehyde.
The formaldehyde because we tested positive to it, so out come the kitchen. It was a pure wood kitchen. Then a couple of months later, we were supposed to be allergic to the fumes of Teflon you get from plastic, and so out went all the plastic containers and all the nylon shirts. My son wasn't.
We had to have glass containers, glass, like storing food and
this is standard practice?
This was...
Well, we were desperate.
So did it fix the asthma?
No, the asthma got worse.
A Maori welcome, and Professor Butako gets his wish. It's the Butako Conference last weekend in Hastings. He may seem a little eccentric, but they're all playing one tune here. 34 delegates and health professionals from 6 countries, a tribute to the Buteyko method. And a fitting one, say the Starks, who were in Australia when they first saw a TV program about the method. That's when they decided to try it.
И буду помогать.
So I booked them into courses, and that was it. I said, you're doing it. Because the allergy specialist wanted to drain the blood. It was, he reckoned it was deep-seated allergies. This is a medical doctor. He wanted to drain out their blood and run it through some sort of filter and shove it back in the other arm, and to get rid of the allergies.
According to Professor Buteyko, this kind of approach is, well, ridiculous.
That's why I try to persuade people to understand that all the medicine is upside down in the modern world.
Now, Western doctors say asthma is caused by dust, and pollen, the environment. Do you accept that?
It's just a matter of stupidity, you know, frankly speaking.
His theory, which he claims is trialled in Russia, is that the environment doesn't cause asthma, incorrect breathing does. Buteyko believes asthmatics actually breathe too deeply. But most people believe deep breathing is good for you. Why would it be so bad?
It's very natural to think like that because all the world follows the pattern of deep breathing, but it's wrong, by the way.
Well, you know, like for you, if you got a bit tight or something like it would be so automatic.
Just why it's bad is the message Russell Stark spreads around New Zealand these days. He's one of only 5 Buteyko therapists here.
Breathe out, breathe in, breathe out, hold.
According to the Buteyko theory, asthma is caused by too much oxygen, often breathed in through the mouth through hyperventilation, and not enough carbon dioxide in our system.
Breathe through your nose.
To put this simply then, you're saying that doctors say you breathe wrong because you've got asthma. You're saying you've got asthma because you're breathing wrong.
That's right.
That's right.
That's what Duncan Glover says he learned. Today he works as a joiner. Dust, he says, not a problem. But 7 years ago, he'd turned to Buteyko out of desperation.
In very bad situations, I used to be up all night. I'd be taking my inhaler maybe 50 times in a night. And I'd be sitting there like this, sweating, heart thumping. But I'd have small attacks every day, all day.
Back then, he says, the dust that doesn't worry him now could have been a killer.
20, 21.
His son Daniel also has asthma.
24, 25.
Up until 3 days ago, 12-year-old Daniel says he was totally dependent on daily doses of reliever medication. That was until he started learning the Buteyko method. And how much Ventolin are you taking?
I've had none so far.
So you're off Ventolin for the first time in how long?
Ages.
Yesterday we spoke to a young boy called Daniel who said that after using your treatment, he was able to give up his inhaler in 3 days. Does that surprise you?
That's a standard.
It's just standard, you know. I'm not surprised about that because it just, I accept it as a norm. I know about that. It will work.
Can you understand why, to us, it seems surprising?
Yes, I can realize because the theory of medicine in New Zealand is upside down, as I've said.
And for father and son, there's a rare opportunity to actually meet the man from Moscow in person.
Duncan, you're welcome.
I'd like to thank you for your breathing technique. It's helped me greatly over the last 7 years, and it is helping him right now.
But through translator Leo Volkov, Konstantin Buteyko notes a problem: sweaty palms.
Wet palms, still wet palms, no.
It's a bit dry.
It's negative indication.
The professor's advice to Daniel: take it step by step.
Yeah, a little bit at a time. Yeah. Not too fast.
To the conference delegates, Ludmilla tells of her husband's discovery of his breathing technique.
The sarcastic attitude proved...
A Rasputin-like story of intrigue and suppression under the communist regime, one which even includes assassination attempts.
Some attempts have been organized at least 9 of them, just to destroy Professor Buteyko physically.
Well, so much for the man, but what about the method? For all the somewhat evangelical claims by Buteyko supporters that their method can replace the need for asthma inhalers like this one, what kind of independent Western medical research has been done to back those claims up? Well, there have actually been 2 Australian studies, and while there have been questions about their accuracy, the patients who followed the Buteyko method in those studies showed a marked reduction in their dependence on reliever medication. In fact, in the first study, the reduction was 95%.
It would tend to suggest that the technique itself is worthy of further study.
Dr. Pat McHugh is a GP and medical director of the emergency department at Gisborne Hospital.
I happened to come across a couple of asthmatics who had been through the Buteyko course of instruction, and they'd done extremely well with the Buteyko.
Dr. McHugh is now running a trial on Buteyko, and if the results are favourable, he may consider introducing the method at Gisborne. So if Buteyko does work, it could save us millions.
Yes, and lives.
It's not a bad looking nerve centre. To the Starks, however, most of the medical profession is simply too blinkered to accept the ideas of their man from Moscow. Too blinkered to educate New Zealand's own asthma educators about Buteyko.
A young boy goes to kindergarten and we find that he has bad breathing patterns. The teacher notifies the asthma educator. The asthma educator comes around and changes his breathing at 3. Why wait till he's 17, 18, they're desperate and come and do Buteyko?